Good morning, we're here with a little crochet amigurumi tutorial today. We have this little guy. Now, I had a request from one of my subscribers if I do a chameleon. Now, obviously it's not a lifelike chameleon, it's a little cutie chameleon. So I hope you like him. We're going to get started with him now. I've kept him quite small because, again, I don't want the tutorials to be too long and I don't want it to be one of these tutorials where all of a sudden everything fast forwards to get to a point. I'd like to be able to complete it even if it takes a little bit longer. So I hope you like him. I thought he was quite cute. I managed to get some nice photographs of him. So let's have a look. I'm actually using a variegated yarn because I wanted the fact, you know, you get the shimmering effect with a chameleon perhaps, but you could do it all sorts of colours. You could do it striped, you could do it a single colour, you could use a sparkly yarn, anything. This is a double knit yarn. I am using my usual 3.5mm crochet hook for this. I have my scissors and my needles and in this little tray, so you don't have to watch me make all these little legs. I have made the little legs because the little legs and the eyes are the same pattern, so I only have to show it you once, and then obviously you're going to do it times 6. I've got my stitch marker, a couple of beads for the eyes. If it's for a younger child, you could use safety eyes, but what you have to do is you get so far, you have to put the safety eyes in them because obviously they're going over this bit as well. So you have to stop on the body, get the eyes done, safety eyes in, then continue with the body. So it's a little bit more complicated, but as long as these are quite secure. They're not toys anyway, what we're making. They're more like little collectible sort of cuties. So just think about who the recipients are going to be. So we also have some sewing cotton for the eyes. So I can move that, move my scissors for now, and that. We'll keep him there so we can sort of have a compare. And we're going to get on with this yarn. This is quite a nice yarn actually. Off the top of my head, I think it's a Stylecraft. I've had it ages, I can't really remember. I'm inclined to buy wool all the time and then the labels drop off because I sort of part use it and then I ain't got a clue what they are. So we're going to be starting with our normal slip knot. Did I say the lady, as I say, there was a subscriber asked if I would do this. The lady's called Pamela. So hi Pamela, hope this is what you want. I'll pop a little note on to make sure you know it's here. Fingers crossed you're going to have a go at him and he's sort of hopefully what you were looking for. So slip knot, hand position, 2 chain. Just the same as I do with all my amigurumi, and again as always 6 double crochets into that first ring. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now I'll tighten that up in a second because I know there's a little hole there, but what I'm going to do is going to go straight on to the next one, which is going to be 2 double crochets in each one. Again, almost identical to how I start most of my amigurumi. So we've got 1, so there's 2 in that first one, 2 in the second one, 2 in number 3. I guess very confusing saying it like that, don't it? 2 in the fourth, 2 in our fifth, and our last one, got a pretty green coming up, 2 in our number 6. So now I am going to tighten that up because it's nice and flat so you can see how the patterning is coming. Now we're going to do 1 just double crochet round. We will need the stitch marker soon. I'm not going to use it yet, I'm just going to rely on counting for this one. So we know we've got 12 stitches, so I'm just going to count 12 double crochets. So that's our first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that is our 12. So you can see again we have our shape coming. We're going to have an increase round next. It's quite a simple one. It's going to be like we've done before, 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one, 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one, and you do that 6 times. The combination is 6 times. So here we go. So we have an increase of 2. So 2 in 1 stitch, 1 in 1 stitch. That's combo number 1. Second one then. 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one. That's number 2. 2 and a 1. So that's our third. Yeah. A 2 and a 1, that's our fourth. We have a 2 and a 1, which is number 5 combo, and our last set, 2 in this one and 1 in the next one. So we can see this is his little face. So this is his little muzzle, or whatever you would call it on a chameleon, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to pop my stitch marker in now, I think, because you could count these, it's small enough to count, but sort of it does cause a distraction. So just slide in our stitch marker. Oh, it's a little bit far over, so it's just sort of under where your stitch is. And we're going to do 3 rounds, just 1 double crochet into each one. But like I said, because the stitch marker's there, I don't have to think about counting. So off we go. Again, if I'm going a little bit too fast here, the best idea I think is, because I've said, you know, you're going to do 3. So just pause me and you just do your 3 using your pen and paper to mark it off like I've got at the side of me. And then when you've done your 3 rounds, come back to me then. I think that's sometimes the easiest way, because obviously you're all at different levels. I think it's really hard to sort of cater sort of for all sort of stages of practice, really. It's a little bit difficult, that. So there's my number 1, and like I said, I have my pen, and there we go. And our second round. It's a funny one, this one. I would say a beginner could do it, but I don't want to be shot for saying a beginner could do it, because yes, you could do it as long as you know the basic amigurumi skills. But later, when we do a little bit of shaping, so I get that little hump over his back, you do have to do some serious counting. So if you're not at that stage, you may not want to do it. I don't see why you can't, but just take your time. Maybe you have to watch it a couple of times before you have a go. So where are we? Almost there. So that is our second round. Our third round. Can you see it shaping up? Because the stitches are all the same. It's all double crochets, but it's just sort of where we decrease and where we increase. Well, we don't actually. Yeah, we do increase. What am I about? Yeah, where we decrease and where we increase. That is how it shapes, and that is how most amigurumi is shaped up, purely by decreasing and increasing. You can get all sorts of odd shapes if you just play with it. Say if you decide to make a ball or something, every now and again just sort of do a few decreases here and there, or increases, and you'll see how you sometimes get a funny shape. It's a good way of practicing on how to shape, actually. Right, so this is our third one. Get back to the marker. Wool's tangled on my hand a bit. There we go. One more, I think, for marker. Yeah. And there we go. So that is basically his little face. So now we're going to be looking at a little bit of shaping. So as I say, this is where it goes a little bit odd. You should have 18 stitches at this point. So if you want to check your quantity, by all means, just sort of stop, do a little count and check where we are going. So this one, stitch marker, is important, but don't think of the stitch marker as being on his back, because it won't work like that. And we also need to move it up every maybe 2 rounds. Okay, so we're going to go for 12 double crochet, so 1 double crochet into each of the next 12. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So we've not gone all the way around, which I don't want to. Now this might be a good time if you want to write it down, if you're wanting to do it as a pattern. So we did, this round involves 12 double crochets, but then we should have 6 stitches left, which looks about right. And in each of those 6, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So that is your increase. So we have 12 double crochets, and then in the last 6 stitches, 2 double crochets in each. So there we go. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So look, we're back to the marker. That is good, that is good. Right, now because they've got these increases here, can you see how it starts to shape upwards? I'm going to move my stitch marker now. Because that's an increase, it will make a difference to where your stitch marker goes. So I've popped it there. I know that's right because we've counted the stitches. We are now going to do just some double crochet rounds. We're going to have 4 of them. So again, now we do need the stitch marker where it is, but you'll start to see how this here, because of the increase, is going to start shaping out. So off we go, just double crochets. Again, this is a time perhaps you write down you're doing 4 rounds, pause me, do your 4 rounds and come back to me. It's entirely up to you how you work it, and don't forget you can slow me down. I think I'd do the pause if I was watching somebody. Take note of what they'd done, and then pause it, do my bit and then come back. I think that's how it should work for me. But we're all different. We all have different ways of learning and practicing things. So off we go. Oh, we're going to a nice I don't know what you call it. Is it blue? It is blue, but it's a little bit turquoisey, isn't it? Turquoise is always that argument with people, isn't it? Is it green? Is it blue? I think it's blue, but with green in it. That's to confuse matters. Right, so I've got around to my stitch marker first time. So again, pen and paper matters. So that's our first one. We have 3 more to go. My little stitch marker, you see I've got little hedgehogs today. Easily distracted. So off we go for our second round. It's going to take a little bit longer than some of the others we've done, but it shouldn't be too bad because there's not actually that many stitches round. The yarn's rolling about a bit. You know, I try all sorts. I've had my yarn in bags and boxes, and they still seem to manage to jump out then. So I don't want it going on the floor. I have just cleaned the floor this morning in here, so it won't be the end of the world, but I don't want any bits. So I'm still finding confetti from a toy I opened about 2 weeks ago. Every time I do it, there's a bit more. Right, there's another one. It went absolutely everywhere. I don't know whether you saw any of my toy opening ones. It was the Na 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 doll. It went everywhere. It went up shelves, around corners. I just couldn't believe how far this confetti went. It's a cute idea for kids, but if I have another doll, which I would like the bunny one, but I'm not going to be able to get her at the moment, I would not do the confetti bit. All right, this is our 3rd round, I said, wasn't it? So when we've done our 4th one, we'll have a look at how the shaping is working. It's just to sort of give him that little sort of hump on his back. I say it's only an interpretation of a chameleon. It's not meant to look like a proper chameleon. It's supposed to give us an idea, a cutie version. We're almost there. This was 3, wasn't it? I'm sure I said this was 3. So we've got, yeah. Even though I mark it down, I sometimes then forget to mark it down and then I still don't know where I am. So, last round. Took some really cute pictures of him in the garden, which I will include on the thumbnail. The only thing is, because of his colouring, he was hard to get a position in, so I had to find the right sort of plants and areas so I could actually see him, because he did quite a good job of being a chameleon. That's why I thought the variegated blues, greens, etc. worked quite nicely. But perhaps if you've got a pet yourself, you might want to work on that colouring, or you've got a friend who's got a pet. Right, are we round? Let's, let me check. Yeah, no, I'm in line nicely. So that was my final round on that section. I'm just marking off where I am to make sure we're okay there. So can you see what's happening? We're getting, this is staying flat, but this is lifting up. So we're getting the shaping of the little hump. So now we're going to have to start moving down in a second. Let me double check. Are we on a decrease round yet? We are. We're going to be starting to decrease. Oh, excuse me. Quick drink again. I wish this would hurry up and go away. Right, here we go. A little bit of decreasing then. So we're going to do 12 stitches, because that's the 12 is sort of there under his tummy, and that's the flat bit. So we're going to do our 12 stitches again like we did when we did the increase. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Now the decreasing is going from the top of his back because that's where we're going to decrease. So as you can see, we're coming to that point where we're arching over his back, and we're going to do, first of all, now this is where we need to concentrate a little bit, 2 together. So in, pull through, in, pull through all 3. So that's your first 2 together. We're now going to do 3, 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So we have a 1, a 2 and a 3. We're now going to do another 2 together. Pull through all 3. Now we're going to do 1, 2, 3 just double crochets. 1, 2 and 3. We're now going to do our last 2 together. So in and pull through all 3. And you can see we're back to the stitch marker, which is approximately where we want to be. If you're counting, we should have 21 stitches at this point because we've decreased down from our 24. We're now going to do 2 rounds of just double crochet. So because I've done a little bit of messing about here, I think it's time we move this stitch marker up. That will do there. Okay. I'm also going to tuck this in because it's getting in my way. Make sure that's nice and tight before you stuff though, because you don't want a little hole developing here. If you really want to, it's sometimes worth turning it inside out, stitching it through and then doing it. So I've pulled it wrong way now again, and to put it back in. There we go, nice and flat. So as I said, we have 2 rounds that are just double crochet rounds. So again, you can pause me and just do your 2 rounds and come back to me, or if you want to stay with me, please do. Off we go. I don't need to count. I got the stitch marker in place. It's a very hypnotic noise. I don't know whether you've ever been crocheting when it is really silent and you sort of sit there and you can just sort of hear the hook go in and out. It's almost like a little train. Sort of as you get a rhythm going. Just don't fall asleep. Our round 1, and as I say, we have 2 rounds here. So another round, just following the stitch marker. Almost there. I just love how this variegation works. I am a little bit obsessed with variegated yarn, I must admit. Couple more stitches, just back to our stitch marker, and then we'll just pause a second and have a little look how it is shaping up. Oh, that one's twisted. There we go. Sometimes if it does that, it's best to take it out and come back to it. Don't sort of try juggling with it. So we are here. So if you can see, we have a little shape coming. Looks bigger at this point because it's not stuffed. Remember, when it's stuffed, it sort of spreads out a little bit so you can see the shape coming. So we're now going to be going on to a little bit more decreasing. So bear with me a second. I'm just going to pause the video there. And you might not notice the pause when I put the videos together. My throat was really playing up, so I really had to have a drink then, so I just had to pause you for a second, so apologies for that. And now we're going to move on to another, you know, like we did before with that decrease. So again, concentrate time. We have 12. So again, that's that across his belly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that's the bit across his belly. Now it's concentrate time. We need to do 2 together. We need to do 5 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then we need to do 2 together, which looks about right because we're back at our stitch marker. That brings us down to 90. Oh, that's what I say, take it out. If it does that, take it out because you don't want your yarn. You see how it starts to fluff and split. So I'm just going to take it out right to that last double crochet of the 5. You know, it's a little bit sort of Can you see you get your little tiny hairs on them? Just catch a little bit. So that 2 together was the last one. Okay, so there, just to reiterate, as I stopped, you did 2 together, 5, 2 together, bringing us down to 19. So you can see now we're curving down. We're going to have another one of those rounds. So 12, which is across his tummy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that's across his tummy. And again, concentrate time, very similar to the last one really. 2 together, 1 DC in each of the next 3. So we have 1, 2 and 3, 2 together, which again is about right. So that's worked. So I've not lost any stitches or anything, but I'm definitely getting a good shaping there. I'm going to turn my pattern over now because I've written on the other side of the page. So we're going to have a similar one to last time, but we're going to actually have less over his tummy. We're only going to have 11 stitches over his tummy. So here we go with the 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now it's shaping time, which is going to be 3 sets of 2 togethers. So double crochet 2 together first. Yeah, that's our first one. Again, keep them nice and tight. That's our second one. One more. And that's our third one. And we should be back. We are back. I know that looks slightly off, but it's because of the decreases that is doing that. So I'm going to move it up for the last time to be under there. And we have just a double crochet round. Here we go. So 1, 2, I'm just checking, this should be 14 stitches. 3, 4, if I'm reading my pattern right. 5, I'm terrible. 6, I can't even read my own writing half the time. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think we've done it, 13, and one more, 14, yay, it landed well. So, as we can now see, we have the shape of the body. We have one more decrease round before we start the tail. Now the tail is going to be a bit tedious because there are lots of rows round, should I say, before you get to the end of it. You can make a longer one if you wanted to and curl it up even further. I just thought that was proportionally sort of about right for his little body. So we have one more decrease round. So we're going to have 8 double crochets. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And then we're going to do like we did on the last round. It's going to be 3 sets of 2 togethers. So our first one, keep it nice and tight, so 2 together, and again 2 together, and one more time. And when I've got to this point, I've really realized I have forgotten something. I need my stuffing. My stuffing is the other side of the room, because at this point you do need to start thinking about stuffing. You can wait until the tail's almost done, but it gets very hard to stuff, and sometimes it's a bit easy to hold if you've got a little bit of stuffing in there. So I'm going to be on my second pause, which is not very good of me, so I'll see you in a second. I'm back. And here's the stuffing. This is a toy grade stuffing. I do like to use a good quality one because obviously the fire retardant, etc, etc. So let's take the hook out. In fact, I'll take that out for a minute and we'll get a little bit of the stuffing in here. As I say, some of it you can do obviously as the tail goes on, but the smaller it is, the harder it is to actually stuff. So we can actually start to see his shape as well by doing this, so you can actually feel you're getting somewhere with it. Can you see? Quite nice shape. It's a little bit like a fish at the moment. Let's pop a little bit more in. We need the rest anyway for the tail. One more bit. Push it in. There we go. I think that's enough. I think that's about right. That's I don't like to see things overstuffed. I mean, my stitching's quite tight because I sort of keep my hook small. You will see some crochet and you can see the stuffing through it. That's usually because they're using a too big a hook, and that's usually because they want a speedy piece of work, especially when they're selling it. And I don't think that's good. I don't want to see my stuffing in there, so my stitches to keep tight and don't overstuff, because otherwise it'll look silly. So I'm going to pop my stitch marker back in, because now it's the boring bit and the bit where you might want to sort of skip what I'm doing. I'm telling you now, I'm doing 15 rounds. If you want to do a couple more, you can, but 15 is what I did to get this curl. Okay, so here we go. It's a bit boring for you to watch if you're watching, but you may want to stop and pause and just get on with it. So I'm not going to count. I have my pen and paper here ready. First one's a little bit tricky to get into because of how you're holding it, but there are 11 stitches and you're going to go around those 11 stitches 15 times. So I may see you at the other end, or you may wish to stay with me while I'm sort of pottering away here. Oh, caught, not good. Take it back, but I don't need to worry about counting because I'm using my stitch marker. Ta-da! Stitch marker. Mark 1. That's 1 of 15, another 14 to go. It's the only thing when you're doing something like this, it does get a little bit tedious. And also, can you see how I'm sort of pushing my finger inside to sort of support it, because it's a little bit hard to hold. I'm sort of trying to sort of flatten off one side while I'm working, but I'm sure with practice you'll have your own way of doing that, or you probably already do. I think I've moved slightly when I got up. My chair's in a slightly different position. We're nearly there. So for our second one, that's number 2. Pen and paper is really important at this point. It'll look really odd when you've done this. Before we curl the tail, it does look a little bit peculiar. So we're on our third round. It is only 11 stitches, so it doesn't actually take that long. I haven't got the foggiest idea how long it takes to make him, because I didn't sort of time it when I did it. Usually I will keep an eye on the time, but I didn't at all this time. So it'll be quite curious, because especially now, because I can't look, because I'm back onto sort of like a third cut of the video, and this one's only 3 minutes, so it's not really giving me an idea of the time. You can see how it's starting to shape. Off we go for number 4. Hope you're staying safe out there. It's still, I don't know what it's like in whatever country you're in. Here in the UK, everything's been extended a little bit as far as I can see, but I think it's got to be done, hasn't it? We've got to slow down this. I'm not going to go on about it too much, because there's a lot of very sad and traumatized people out there at the moment, and we've got to really feel for them. But there's also a lot of great things going off with people fundraising and trying to help, and food parcels for people. So we are really seeing the goodness of people coming out at the same time. So I hope it's going to continue afterwards. There's also a few idiots which do make life difficult, but never mind, there's always them no matter what you do. That is round 5, and look, we can see we've got a little tube coming. It is always harder to do this when you've got a small area like this. It's like some of the people who did the micro. I mean, okay, I do miniature. I certainly don't do micro crochet, and some of them, oh my God, I have actually seen a micro chameleon, and I just don't know how they do it. They must have to have extra magnifying glasses. It's exquisite, absolutely beautiful. So I know when people say, oh, you know, you're a miniaturist, I'm like, I make small things. I am not sort of like some of the people, the talented people that are out there. I'll have a go, and I don't actually get much opportunity to do it too small nowadays. Every now and again I get an urge that I want to make something tiny. So this is actually round 7, so we're almost halfway. If you want to make a bigger tail, as I say, just make sure he balances, because you've got to think when you pop his legs on, you don't want him tipping back because of the weight of the tail. So we're actually, what am I on, round 8? So it's going quite quick. As I say, it's only 11 stitches, so it's not too bad. I'm trying to see the time. So yeah, it took us a couple of minutes to get to this point. That's not too bad at all. Obviously, you may want to do it slower. You may do it faster than me. So everybody's different that's actually doing the tutorials. I'm finding I'm getting people from very beginners asking for a bit of advice, which is great. If you need any help, just send me a message, or you know, if you're on my Facebook or anything, you can just messenger me that way. To people obviously who are experienced, and some people clearly sort of more experienced than I am. We're all learning all the time. I'm not daft enough to think that I know everything. I certainly don't, and I'm always open for sort of people sort of giving me more information or ideas, or even just suggestions. Like I say, Pamela suggested doing this, and I'm quite grateful for us to making that suggestion, because sometimes you do get blank spots and you think, well, what shall I make? And I'm really pleased with him. I am really pleased with him. My son's eyeing him up though, so I think I can imagine where it's going. Round 10. Although I'll have 2 now, won't I? So it won't matter. Just thought I've got my first one. I like to keep my first copies. Oh, round already. See, I'm talking. I don't even realise I'm round. I do like to keep my first versions, so if I need to sort of reference them or anything for anything, and then the spare ones I make usually end up sort of friends and family. It looks like a deflated balloon, doesn't it, at the moment? It's also a little bit hard to get your stitch marker. I should have moved it up. In fact, I will move it up. Not that there's much point for the few rounds we've got. I would recommend, if you've got a nice quiet room, to count the 11 and then mark it down. So that is my 11th, as it turns out, stitch. I'm going to move this stitch marker because I'm very aware of the fact that because amigurumi is spiral, it does very slightly move position. If I can actually do it, hold it properly. No, pop it in there. So I'm just going to go round to there now. I should have moved it up a little bit earlier. Obviously, you'll know your own way. If you're only learning, I'd move it up every sort of 3 or 4 maximum rounds. So this is number 12. It's only going to take us a couple of minutes now, if that, to do the last bit. Oh. Here's 12. I'm going to carry on. I'm not going to write it down. This is round 13. Towards the end, I quite often don't write them down. Again, if you're a beginner, you're going to be thinking I'm going way too fast now, but you don't have to do it with me. Just sort of take note that you had 15 rounds, as I say, and just pause me. And if you want to watch it first, by all means. 13. We've got 2 more to go, and then we need to stuff it before we do that final bit of decreasing. I've got 1 more. Last round. And to be honest, as soon as you've got the body and the tail done, the legs and the eyes are so fast to do because they're only a few rounds each. Again, you've got 6 of them. So I tried to make a point of making sure the legs and the eyes were the same. So it's less for you to sort of think about as a pattern, and it just makes it quicker for you to watch me. You can just go away and make your 5 rather than having to watch me do them. Right, so I'm round. I'm going to take my stitch marker out now because it's going to be completely irrelevant to what I am doing. I'm going to pull a long loop and take my hook out because we've got to get some stuffing in here, but not too much, because if you put too much in, you won't be able to curl it. Harder to get in now, obviously. As I say, it just looks like a deflated balloon, doesn't it? Let's see if we can push it in. You can use the end of a hook if you want. My favourite though, which might sound a bit weird, is my scissors. I don't know why, but for some reason the stuffing sort of catches with the scissors rather than a hook or a straight thing. I just look, it seems to go in so much easier. But be careful, obviously, you don't want to sort of catch your work or push a hole in it. My smaller embroidery scissors are brilliant for stuffing little things like this. actually, just give it a little roll and gives you an idea sort of where the stuffing's going. I think that's probably enough because I can still bend it. If I put too much in there, it won't be able to bend it. In fact, I'm going to take a tiny bit out because I think it is a little tight. There we go. I'm going to push it further in because I've got some stitches and I don't like the stuffing getting caught in your final stitches because again I think that looks messy if you do that. So pull it up. Last bit, just 2 together till closed. 2 together, 2 together, 2 together all the way around until it's almost closed because you'll not get down to a tiny weeny bit. So just 2 double crochets together all the way around, and it'll slowly get less and less and harder to actually get into. This is a fiddly bit, but you must keep it tight. So what I'm going to do is I'll pull it through. I'm going to make sure it's tight. Depends on what your tension's like. If you are newer to this, your tension will get a little bit loose at this point, so do keep an eye on it. Keep it as tight as you can. Right, I think that's enough. Okay, so it looks like there's nothing there, but I'll show you what I'll do in a second. I need that long enough as well to sew the tail into place, so turn it up, give it a wiggle, pushes some of the stuffing back into place. Okay, so we know which is top. This is his back, this is his belly, and he will be curling round there. Now that's hard to hold first, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my needle. Which one shall I have? I'll have that one. So it's just my sewing up needle. If you have any little spaces at this point, this is the time you can sort of darn that into place. Again, make sure you're holding him in the right place. I'm going to give him a little fold first. Oh, so it's just a little one. Just one stitch. Just holds that first bit. I'm then going to turn. Might take a little bit of squishing into place. Oh, you see it squishing out. And I think that'll about do it. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to stitch into the base and into the tail, end of the tail that is. I'm going to push it all the way through. Actually through, and you don't want to see your stitches, make sure it's going through the body of your little chameleon. And I'm going to pick up this side as well. Now can you see how it pulls away from his body? I also then stitched it higher, so that's just my first point. I'm going to take it in to where I think it should attach to the body. So let's just pull it over. You can always undo that if you don't like it. I'll pull it over. Yeah, I think that would be about right. So about there. This is something, don't do it too tight. Play about with it until you're happy with it. You don't want to see your stitch at the top, so pull that nice and tight. I'm going to tie a little knot again, nice and slowly to make sure it's going to be tight. And then I'm just going to push it through his body and through his body. And that is my little curl. So there's our body of our little chameleon there. Like I say, you could have made this longer. I think maybe the stuffing's not quite right compared with the other one. Can you see a little bit of a gap? I think I've probably put a little bit too much stuffing in that one. But I think he'll be okay. Right, just very quickly, the legs and the eyes, as I say, are exactly the same. And there is only, let me count, 1, 2, 3, there is 3 rounds. So we start amigurumi. Then we'll make needle before I lose it. Slip knot. 2 chain, 6 double crochets into the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now this increase isn't 2 in each, it's going to be 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one, like we've done before, just because it does just 3 increases to give us 9 stitches. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch, 1 double crochet into the second stitch, 2 into the third, oh it's catching, 2 into number 3, 1 into number 4, 2 into number 5 and 1 into number 6. So that gives us 9 stitches, so we can tighten that up because it does need to be nice and tight. And now we're going to do just 1 double crochet into each of those double crochets. So we should have 9 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and I'm just going to do a slip stitch in my very last one and pull it through, snip it off and pull it through. Now obviously we need to tuck it through now, so push it back the right way. Amazing how many people do it inside out, and you can see that is what we've got. Now I've also got another 4, 5, even 5. I should have 5. I bet I'm not going enough. As you can see, I've got a few. Each one's come out a different colour because of the variegated yarn, which is quite cute. That works quite nicely with it being a chameleon. So that is all you have to do. I'm going to show you sewing on the eyes. I'm going to let you sort of position sort of the legs yourself. So I'm having a look. I want quite a contrast colour. So because that front part of him is green, I'm going to go for blue eyes. But he's going to have one eye blue and one eye pale. This one is going to be very odd. Or shall I go for a green? I don't know. I'll go for that one. That one. Move that to one side. The hardest bit about this is positioning, making sure. I sometimes put the legs on before I put the eye details on to make sure I'm sort of equal. Now what I've done here, I'm using that middle bit, yeah? I'm not going to stitch on with this, I'm just using it to position. So I'm holding him in place. I know I want his eyes. Imagine where they are. Would that be about right? I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to pull it through. So that is only there to anchor it. This is what I'm going to use to do the sewing on. So it's something I've done for quite a while now, just using that inner part to anchor into position. And also I can then go, oh yeah, am I happy with that? Yeah, that will do. So I know the position is right. Now I'm not sure how much you're going to see this with it being of a similar colour. The sewing up is like with any other sewing on. Some people call it a whip stitch. I'm not quite sure what you call it. Basically you're picking up one part of the eye part in this situation and one part in the body. So I'm only picking up the top bit. I think I've mentioned before, because obviously with a chain there's 2 parts. I only pick up the top bit. So I think it gives you a neater finish for sewing up. You can pick up both if you feel it's not secure. Let's see, I'm already round. Now my last stitch, I'm going to do a little knot. And I'm going to push it through the body. My stomach's rumbling. It's quite, well, it's not early in the morning, but I've not had my breakfast yet. So I have to take my medication and I'm not allowed to eat for half an hour, but I decided to get this done instead. So now we can cut these both ends off. So I'm going to be looking forward to my breakfast when I've finished. And a peppermint tea. Right, so you can see it's quite bulbous. That's okay. I'm not going to pop the other one on. I just want to show you sort of for the eye. So just normal sewing cotton. Excuse my teeth. I'm inclined to bite things. It's really not good. You should use your scissors because it's not good for your teeth, as my teeth over the years are showing. So let's have a look. If I could thread the needle, it would help. It's not going on. It's hard trying to sort of look forward to what I'm doing, whereas I'd normally bring it really close to my body to thread, which I might do. Oh no, we've gone. It's quite a small head on this one. Right, or an eye, should I say. I'm going to make a little knot. Move that out of the way. And I'm making sure the knot is big enough because you don't want it to pull through the yarn. And I'm going to sort of sneak under there. Now I'm not going to go through the hole because it will definitely come through. I'm going through slight stitch to one side. Make sure it isn't going to come off because you don't want it to come off after the fact. These are just little plastic beads. They're only small ones. Cheap enough to get hold of, hopefully, if you can get hold of things. And I'm just going to take it through. Now what I actually did is I did both at the same time, so I'm going to just show you this as an example. So I pushed my needle, pretend the other eye's on the other side, I pushed it all the way through. If you pull it in, you see what difference it makes. So that's when it stuck out. That is when it pulls in to create that effect. Then I went through the other bead that was at this side, all the way back through, all the way back through. I did that about 3 times and then I fastened it off. But you can see just from one shape like that, just by pulling it in, can make a massive difference to your work. Sewing up is such a great thing where you can actually shape what you're doing. So obviously I'm not going to finish that because I need that other eye on there. So you need 6 of this one. So obviously 1 for each eye, 1 for each little leg. I think it's going to look quite cute, this one, because the legs are slightly lighter than on my other one. So I think they're going to sort of stand out. But that's the thing with variegated yarn. Sometimes it can work, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it does, because like I said, I love the colours of a variegated yarn. So hope you enjoyed our little chameleon. I hope you're going to have a go at this little fella. Any problems, I say message me. Please like, subscribe and share if you have enjoyed it. Please pop some comments on any other suggestions, because I said this was a suggestion from a subscriber. It was something I thought, yeah, I can have a go at that, and this is what we got. So hopefully if it's something I can do, that is. I can't do everything, but I can have a little go and see if it would work for you. So thank you very much for watching. Keep safe, keep well, and see you all very soon. Bye.